Hey everyone, welcome to this week's chopping block. I wanted to take a few moments to cover some of the content that got left on the cutting room floor as I prepared the sermon for this last Sunday. We covered Acts chapter 9 and studied the conversion and the calling of the Apostle Paul. And I talked a lot about vocation, how vocation actually shares a root word with vocal, to be called actually requires a voice calling and summoning you into something. And I talked about dream jobs that kids have and our work. And I just wanted to take some time to clarify that sometimes our calling and our job and what we get paid for, they aren't the same thing. They don't happen at the same place at the same time. It's really common for people to have a job and also have a calling that's separate. I know for me personally, I have gone through seasons in my life where I've gotten a 9-to-5 job in the workplace to pay the bills. And that was true for the Apostle Paul himself. He made tents to pay for his missionary trips. And even Jesus came onto the scene as a carpenter. And so I think it's important clarification that can happen. And no matter what your job is, no matter what you get paid for, that you can honor God in your workplace. Timothy Keller wrote a book called Every Good Endeavor, Connecting Your Work to God's Work. And in that book, he outlines ways that we can glorify and serve God in our workplace, no matter what our job is. He says that we can honor and glorify God at work by furthering social justice in the world, by being personally honest and full of integrity, and that would mean sharing our faith and evangelizing our colleagues. And he says we can honor God at work just by doing skillful and outstanding, excellent work, creating beauty and putting beauty into the world. Keller says that we can work from a Christian motivation to glorify God, seeking to engage and influence culture to that end. There are so many ways that we can glorify God in work, no matter what our job is. Martin Luther King Jr. said this: "If it falls to your lot to be a street sweeper, sweep the streets like Michelangelo painted pictures, like Shakespeare wrote poetry, like Beethoven composed music. Sweep streets so well that all the hosts of heaven and earth will have to pause and say, 'Here lived a great street sweeper who swept his job well.'" So this week, how can you glorify God in your workplace, at your job, regardless of what that job is? How can you go to work and serve Jesus Christ himself? Not necessarily your boss, not the person who signs your paycheck, but how can you serve God? How can you glorify God at work? How can you fulfill what your true calling is, even in your workplace, if your work is completely different than what you feel your calling from God is? These are challenges I hope you'll consider all week long. And this Sunday, I hope that you'll join us as we continue the Kingdom Adventure series. We'll be studying Acts chapter 14. I'll see you Sunday at 9 o'clock or 10:45.